how much, and there's gonna be a lot of quotation marks in this one, how much research did you do on your role before kind of getting
Oh, a
started?
lifetime of research.
You've been training your whole life. I love it. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm talking to Alex Essoe, the star of Trim Season, which is coming to theaters and on demand on June 7th, 2024. I'm going to talk to her right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll sweat a lot. Thank you. All right, so thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got Alex Essoe, the star of Trim Season, which is coming to theaters and on demand on June 7th, 2024. It is a weed-based horror movie where the devil's lettuce might actually be the devil's lettuce. It is fun. It has some really good practical effects and a good performance by Alex. So I'm very excited to talk to you, and thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. So, first question: how did you get involved in this? I know you have like a extensive horror background. How did this movie get into your onto your desk, and how did you get involved?
So, I had done a JPEG Mafia music video with Ariel like a year before. And I was very impressed by her. I thought she was super cool, very, very driven, very self-made, which I always love. I gravitate to that. So we stayed in touch. We'd go for coffee, and she sent me this script one day, and was like, look at Julia and tell me what you think. And I did, and I thought it was cool. I loved the idea. I already trusted Ariel implicitly, so I'm like, well, if you're doing this, it'll probably be really good.
That's
And I
awesome.
was right.
No,
Yeah, it was really cool.
that's awesome. I'm glad that you had like a dry run essentially, and then she hooked you in with the big film. That's perfect.
Yes, yeah, it was nice. I was, and she's so cool. I was just happy to work with her on anything again.
That's hey, look, working with cool people is probably the best thing about Hollywood. So I'm glad that you were able to
Oh
do it
my God. Well,
again.
especially on an indie film,
Yeah,
if I'm making like 140 grand a day, which I never have in my life, but if I was, I'd be like, well, I guess it's cool if you're not cool,
yeah,
because
exactly.
at least I'm getting, but yeah, on passion projects and indie films, it's so necessary
Yeah,
to
for sure.
have like a good on-set ecosystem.
For sure. And one thing that helps is a pot-based film. How much, and there's gonna be a lot of quotation marks in this one. How much research did you do on your role before kind of getting
Oh, a
started?
lifetime of research.
You've been training your whole life. I love it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I tried it a couple times in high school. Um and it was whatever, but when I was an adult and I was, out in the working world, it became a little more frequent, you know,
Well, yeah, I mean,
especially when yeah.
you want to have a broad experience to make sure that you can take on all these roles, right? Like you don't want to go on there
Exactly.
and look fake.
God no. No. I mean, it's absolute death to an actor if you're just going through the motions.
Yeah, you don't want
Um
to be that Steve Buscemi with the skateboard, being like, "What's up, fellow potheads?"
what's
Like,
up, fellow pot smokers? Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Um,
well, that's a great example too, because he brought a lot of truth to that character, this like weird poser
yeah,
dude.
no,
You know
and
what I
that's
mean?
that's basically me every
That's
day, right? Like
so
trying to be out here, be cool. It's a constant
yeah.
struggle, but I keep
Yeah.
trying. So you'd say like you were kind of like a method actor for this movie, right? Like you really kind of dug into this
Oh,
character.
well, I don't want to give the method any credit for anything, but because I'm very much not a method actor. But yeah, I mean, life is tough and weed really helps sometimes. Especially trying to navigate this particular industry. Any industry that's art based, it's not like, your union's going to find work for you, or where you're lining up this and that. I mean, it's based on what you bring to the, and it has to, it's a catch 22. So, you know, there are some days where you're like, okay, I'm living out of my car, I'm sleeping on a couch, I really could just use a bong hit right now.
Yeah, wow, that sounds
Just
actually exactly like the characters in this movie, so it's perfect.
yes, exactly. Oh no, exactly. I mean, I was
Yeah.
reading this, I was like, oh yeah, no, yes, I'm gonna have to really stretch myself,
Just do some soul searching for this
really
one.
dig deep to really
Uh,
dig deep to play an actress who smokes pot.
so, one thing I was wondering about, like, there were a lot of pot plants. Were they props or were they like props? Like, did you, were they just
Oh, they were fully props. Actually, our prop department was magical because I mean, even the bud that we're trimming looked so real. And it was kind of crazy. I mean, obviously people are gonna ask like, so were you smoking pot on set? Were you like smoking it? And as tempting as it was, because you're out in nature and everyone's cool and you're like, yeah, I would not be able to do anything. I am not one of these high functioning potheads who can like, smoke a joint and then go to my law practice and practice law or something like that. I'm very envious of people who can do that,
yeah, for
but it's
sure.
not me. I would not. I would miss my cue. I would just fuck it all up for sure.
Well, you just have to wait for the right role. Like when that role comes along, the pot smoking lawyer, then you'll be ready. Then you'll be able to like prepare for that one.
Yeah, seriously. Oh God, that's so funny.
I mean, with all the
Yeah.
pot on set, you should have just had some more music videos shot too. Like you could have had Ariel shoot a couple more music videos like in between. It would have double up those roles, pad those IMDb stats. It would have been perfect.
It would have been, yeah, it would have been cool to have someone filming like the behind the scenes. That would have been cool. But oh God, poor Ariel was like working overtime on that, man. She was really putting her entire heart and soul into this production, which
Which
is great. I mean, it's very inspiring for us actors because then we're all like, oh boy, time to up our game.
yeah,
It's
for
go
sure.
time.
And
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
mentioned, like indie projects, you kind of get that, right? Like it is someone's baby, and so they are
Yeah.
putting everything into it to make sure that this thing comes to life.
Yes, exactly. It's not something that they're trying to commodify. It's something that actually means something to them.
Yeah, exactly. So, you obviously were a big draw, but I was curious, what was it like working with Jane Badler? What was it like working with her? Had you worked with her before? Or was this the first time that you had interacted with her?
No, I had never worked with her before. I mean, I was familiar with her work, of course, and I thought it was so cool that she was going to be the villain in this. And I'll tell you, that woman, you cannot see the strings at all.
Oh
Her
wow.
transition, I mean, she would be so cool and chill in between takes, and then as soon as action was called, she would just melt into this character of Mona, and like just the physicality of it and the way she would speak, and all of her choices were so specific. So yeah, I mean, it was really cool for me to watch that, to watch someone who is a veteran, who is a master of their craft, and also to talk with her. I mean, my God, the advice and the just the insight into this work was so it's a very rewarding part of the process for me. And I hope I'm lucky enough to be in that position when I get to that point.
Yeah.
I hope that when I'm older, I'll have something of value to pass on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we'll
exactly.
yeah.
No, she must have had some just really cool stories to tell, even it was like
Oh
old
man,
old
yeah.
horror
I mean,
stories
I
from
won't
horror
I won't
movies, right?
repeat any of them, but yeah. Oh no, she has some very cool stories.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
And the rest of the cast, what was it like on set? I feel like this could have been like almost like a summer camp experience where everyone's out in nature and having fun, or was it very much like we don't have time, we have to get this stuff done, like let's go, let's go, let's go.
Oh no, it was very much like summer camp. Because we're also like we're out in the woods, we're out in
Yeah.
like the wilderness of Utah, and it's beautiful, and the cast was so cool. Every actor was so unique and brought something so interesting to their role. And as a result, you have these five truly like individuals. There are no archetypes in this film. Um, it really is like they are real people. They're not just a bunch of talking heads
Mhm.
filling in space.
Yeah. They're not like
Which
throwaway horror characters. They're like, the
Yeah,
jock and
none
the
of them.
yeah, exactly.
All of them are developed so well. All of the relationships are developed. Ariel put a lot of care into giving everyone their moment and giving everybody their chance to reveal themselves. And And everyone was so chill. I mean, everyone was so funny and cool. Bex, Allie, I keep wanting to call her Lex, but that is her character name, Jules. It was the coolest, like, oh my, if I ever had to go into a fray with someone, I would want it to be her,
That,
because
that
I am convinced she can kick pretty much anybody.
that's awesome. That sounds like a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, so much. And then Beth, I mean, Beth is the best. I mean, what a great number one to have on a project, you know. So gracious. No ego at all, you know. Very just lovely, and loves doing it and loves working with everybody, and so yeah, it was very easy to be her best friend.
No, that's awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, so
Oh yeah.
exactly. You were basically method acting. Like this sounds like a method act. Everyone was chill. Everyone was your best friends. A summer camp. This sounds perfect.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, the only reason I hesitate on that is because, you know, taking real life, taking your knowledge of life experiences and putting them in your work is not unique to the method. The method is more like you need to sensorially remember traumatic experiences and use that, and that's like so unhealthy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's stuff you should discuss with your therapist, that you should seek help with, you know, if you're just using it as fodder for your art. I mean, there are people that haven't come back from that, you know. And the most important tool, I think, for an artist is your imagination. It's the whole point.
Mhm.
It's imaginary. It's
Yeah.
living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And you know, there's no, it's become romanticized that you have to like mentally destabilize yourself to get into the role. And man, the best actors I've ever seen are the ones that can slip in and out like nothing. You know, Dame
Like,
Judi Dench should be talking to the crew guys, and then when action is called, she's in it.
yeah. Or
So,
like Jane, like you mentioned, she was slipping in and out the
like,
entire time. Yeah.
exactly. Right, exactly. She can just slip in and out. And which is not to say that people who use the method are bad actors. It's not that at all. I mean, there are some brilliant actors who use the method. My contention with it is that it's not necessary to go to an unhealthy place in order to do it. You don't have to do that. You can get to those places. Like Robert Duvall is a Meisner actor, and I never see the strings on that guy. There's never a single fault. I'm always just watching a man have an experience, just watching a person have an experience, and which is the whole point. I don't want to be reminded that I'm watching a celebrity do something.
Yeah,
I want to watch a
exactly.
person go through something. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's, you know, I find the method to be a little bit kind of ego based and a little self indulgent, because it's about me and what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. When that's not the case, it's about giving to your partner. How do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do? How do you want them to react? And if both actors are doing that for each other, you come out smelling like a rose every time. You can't go wrong,
Yeah.
because you're giving. It's about giving. It's not about taking or sitting and feeling until you're ready to do it.
This is so deep. I feel like we should be smoking and just like hanging out in a camp and
Not a
talking like
bad
this.
idea. Don't tempt me, David.
That'll tempt you with a good time.
Yeah.
So I know we have limited time. I'm gonna switch to a lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how
Yeah,
your personal experiences map to things in the movie. Feel free to skip any of
sure.
them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay.
First question: have you ever worked on a farm?
I haven't worked on a farm, but when I was a little kid, we went to Ireland, and my brother and I stayed on a dairy farm for a while. I think I was like 6, and I fell in love with farm life. So, I mean, we weren't working, but we were helping, you know, we would carry pails of milk and feed hay to the cows and stuff. And we were just, oh my God. I actually want to have a farm at some point because I loved it so much.
That is so cool. And so it sounds so idyllic, right? Like as a kid, you're just in a
Yeah.
farm, you're seeing all these animals, you're like working with your
Yeah.
hands, getting dirty. That sounds amazing.
It's the whole, it's so rewarding. Working with your hands is one I mean, no matter what your job is, everyone should try to do it. Like I've had a lot of side jobs, of course, over the years. But one of my favorites was working for a carpenter. It was my job to like cut and sand and stain all of the panels of wood that she would use to make furniture. And it's like the best, it was the best job I've ever had. You know, I put on my headphones and my, my mask and stuff, and I just work and make things, and it's just the best feeling. I
That
think there's a
sounds
reason why we as human beings respond to stuff like that too. I think it's like ingrained in us.
yeah. And it sounds also
Yeah.
super useful, like very useful to have those skills in your repertoire.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Harrison Ford and Jesus, they were both carpenters.
Yep. Both amazing people, I guess.
I get well, I mean there's a question it's questionable whether the latter actually existed, but Harrison Ford definitely exists.
I've
He
seen his credits.
definitely
I haven't seen Jesus' IMDb credit, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
Does he even exist if he doesn't have one?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have one
No.
also, so we'll see.
What was he in? Yeah.
Passion of the Christ, that's what he was in. Uh, this leads perfectly to the next question, not Jesus related. What is the strangest job you've taken?
So the strangest job I've ever taken is one that I kind of generated myself. I lied about being a landscaper because I really needed a job and I really needed money, and I was on Craigslist and I saw someone needed someone to landscape the front of this apartment building and the money was pretty good. So I reached out and lied about my experience.
That's
and
awesome.
I landscaped the front of this apartment building, just kind of winging it. I showed up with a bunch of kitchen utensils tucked into a belt, and no one seemed to notice that they
That's
were
awesome.
like spatulas and shit. Oh, dude, and I had to like lay bricks and stuff like that. I was like on my phone, like looking up how to mix cement and shit, and I got it done. It took about like 4 days,
No,
and you
that's
just do
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
It was
just yeah.
fun.
No, that's awesome. That's
It was
amazing.
cool. I couldn't believe I got away with it. I was just so desperate for cash.
And it shows you have a natural acting ability. You showed up and your role was landscaper and you did it. You
Yeah,
did it perfectly.
no, I apprenticed under this other landscaper or whatever. So I mean, I was just so happy that they believed me. I was like, okay, cool. Well, time to prune these trees.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So this film had a scene where you're at dinner and there's wine and weed. Wine or weed, which would you choose?
Weed.
Okay. Easy.
I
I
don't
mean, I
have
guess
to
that makes
think
sense
about
given
it.
the film.
Yeah. But I also I'm not a big drinker. I don't love the feeling of being drunk so much. I prefer the feeling of being high. Now, if we're talking about like some really nice wine, like some, like a Super Tuscan or a Montalcino or something like that, then I don't know. Then I might have to think about it.
Yeah. No, I like that you have standards. That's a good thing. And yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the last question, do you have a favorite strain of weed?
Yes, I do. There's one called God's Gift that really does live up to its name. It's really nice. It's not I don't like weed that's too heavy. There are some indicas that are good, but I don't like feeling super tired the next day. I don't like it weed that completely takes the wind out of my sails. But then a sativa can sometimes be like too up and too like it can make your mind kind of race a
Mhm.
little much. So God's Gift is nice. It's a hybrid and it's a gentle hybrid. It's just like giggly and fun, and when it's over, it's over. So I recommend that one.
That's perfect. And I like that it lives up to its name too. That's nice. It's good
Yeah, it
advertising.
really does. I was like, oh, you guys knew what you were doing when you named this.
Awesome. So the film is Trim Season. It comes out on June 7th, 2024. You are out promoting the movie, getting the word out. But after people see you in Trim Season, do you have any other projects on the horizon they can look for next from you?
Oh yes, I'm very so the one that I can talk about is a movie that just came out, and it's called The Last Stop in Yuma County.
So good. I love that
Yeah,
movie.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Oh
it's so
man,
good.
it's so good. It's so like it's so much better than it has any business being for an indie film. The writing is so good, the directing is so good, and the acting is crazy good. Like I have a smaller part in it. I'm not like a lead or anything. But God, I mean, it really it hit kind of like Reservoir Dogs, where it's like this is your first film, And because it's a low budget indie, you know, and one of the things I like about low budget indies is that you don't have the money for all the bells and whistles. So the writing has to be good, the directing has to be good, the acting has to be good, because those are the elements that make the film. So and oh god, and Richard Brake is terrifying in it. He plays, you know, the villain basically, and oh my god, he made me jump, which doesn't often happen. And like not because of it startled, not because I was startled, just because I was like, oh fuck, that's so terrifying. Like, and it's just him sitting and talking. I mean, that's how you know you're working with a master, when they can just sit and talk and completely change your life.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great movie. The people should
Yeah.
definitely check that out. But before, or actually, you can check it out now, and then make sure to also check
Yeah.
out Trim Season, which is being released in theaters and on demand on June 7th, 2024. This is the star Alex Essoe. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so much fun.
That was Alex Essoe, the star of Trim Season, which is coming to theaters and on demand on June 7th, 2024. It is a plot-based horror movie where the devil's lettuce might actually be the devil's lettuce. Alex does a fantastic job in it. It is fun, it has really great practical effects, and it definitely has a lot of pot. So, if you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.